that? Why? That's mommy's. Use this if you want to smell like daddy.
You never had to question if you were a man, so why give your money to a corporation that doesn't know if their products are made for men? Try Jeremy Razor's hair and body products. Jeremy shampoo and conditioner are made with tea tree oil to naturally clean and restore your hair and scalp, argan oil to soften your hair and not your masculinity, and aloe vera to moisturize the hair and scalp. It's all paraben-free, sulfate-free, phthalate-free, and most importantly, 100% woke-free. Not to mention, it smells amazing. Go to jeremyrazors.com and use my special code BURNS15 to save 15% off. That's jeremyrazors.com. Use my special code BURNS15 to save 15% off.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In today's episode, we are going to talk about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. There was a story that was just posted not too long ago, a few hours ago, saying that Trump lawyer investigators, got a hold of Fani Willis and actually Nathan Wade's cell phone history, okay, his location history. And what they found out is damning to their actual testimony. Okay, they claim that their relationship did not start until 2022, after Nathan Wade was hired as special prosecutor. Well, according to these not even text messages, but cell phone locators, it's more likely they were sleeping with each other. Now, they probably didn't call themselves an actual couple, but more likely they were sleeping with each other. So we're going to discuss that today on our episode. And also, we're going to talk about your girl, Teflon Tiffany. Okay. So the board met yesterday. They had a special board meeting in Dalton Village. Of course, they couldn't hold it at the regular location because Tiffany and her people locked the regular trustees out, so they don't have access to the building. And that's one of the things that they passed a resolution on. But the main thing that I want to touch, they're sending information to the FBI, the state attorney general, and other local authorities that's in Illinois. So we'll discuss that. I just want to cover a few highlights from the board meeting yesterday. So we have a full show today. So you guys, thank you for tuning in, and we're about to get started.
Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
You guys put in the chat, let me know where you're viewing from. Put in the chat, let me know where you're viewing from. Okay, so let's get to our first story of the hour, and that is the Dalton Village. The Dalton Village had an emergency meeting last night in regards to Tiffany Henyard's spending and her behavior. Quite frankly, her behavior is it's become unbearable and unlawful. Now we know it's been unlawful, but she just running amok in the village of Dalton, the town of 20,000 people. She's running amok, and there's been several stories over the last 24 hours, news stories that's broke because of Teflon Tiffany. Okay, so let me just highlight one part of this video. You guys hold on for just a second. I have people in my house. So let me just share with you the Village of Dalton board meeting. I just want to highlight a couple of snippets from that before we get to our main story, history. Okay. Where's my tab? And I got so many tabs open, I can't tell which one is which. Okay. Okay. So let's see who we got up in the building. You guys, Lenny Malley is here. We have Noble Young. Ren W. Ram 970 is in the building. Hagen AZ. Thanks for tuning in. We got some other people. Andrea B. Thank you for tuning in. Blue Anon. Blue Anon is in the building. Reginald. We have Reginald in the building. And who else? Raythel Jordan. So you guys, thank you for tuning in once again. This board meeting, they were straight up to business. So if you actually go on the Dalton Trustees website or YouTube page, it's not going to be no crazy board meeting. They was pretty straightforward. Line item, whatever that was on the agenda, that's what they covered. Okay. So I wanted to share this particular part with you. And this part of the board meeting is where Trustee House announces where he is they're agreeing to launch an investigation on Tiffany Henyard. Okay. And the crowd basically goes wild because they know Tiffany is a mess. Is this it? 42. Here we go. I'm going to play it from this part.
The Park District, so thank you. So I want to amend the motion as stated by Attorney Odelson, and I'll ask that we get a second on the amended motion.
Second.
So hearing that motion and second, the amendment being that the documentation can be signed by the Mayor Pro Tem. I hate doing it because I feel self-serving on this one. Mayor Pro Tem to get the process moving forward. So hearing that motion and seconded by Trustee Brown, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask Clerk Key for a roll call.
Trustee Norwood.
Aye.
Trustee Tammy Brown. Aye. Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Belcher.
Aye.
Motion passed to amend the motion to have Trustee House sign the agreement.
Thank you for that. We are to the eighth and second to last point on this agenda. This is discussion and approval of a resolution 24-002 calling. Oh, I moved so quickly, I thought. Okay, so thank you, Clerk. That's why I want to get close, keep me corrected. So the motion that was just voted on was to amend my original motion. Now we need to take a vote on the actual intergovernmental agreement. So that being said, yeah, we have the motion and second. I'll ask again Clerk Key for a roll call on the actual agreement, intergovernmental agreement with Dalton Park District.
Trustee Norwood.
Aye.
Trustee Tammy Brown.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Belcher.
Aye.
Motion passed to approve the intergovernmental agreement between the Dalton Park District and the Village of Dalton.
Okay. Item number 8, discussion and approval of a resolution 24-002 calling for an investigation of Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
I wanted to pause it right here. You see how many people showed up. People are really serious about getting Tiffany out of the office. They normally don't have that many people show up for the regular board meeting, but they showed up for this one.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to read it. I will read this in its entirety, and then the board, myself and other board members will have discussion on this point to further explain the reason for this, although it may be evident. So on this motion, whereas the Village of Dalton Board of Trustees have become aware of numerous improprieties concerning the mayor's use of village funds, village credit cards, employees, and resources. Whereas the village board has received evidence that Mayor Tiffany A. Henyard has misused village funds, village credit cards, has made payments to vendors that have been approved by the board, and has refused to issue the payment of those invoices to those vendors.
Getting a business loan has never been easier. But
one thing I want to point out with Tiffany, they did mention in this board meeting that Tiffany, although she didn't pay those 6 cars that was on the chopping block to get the repo, coming to find out, the lawyer that was present in this meeting, he noted that, yeah, they didn't pay none of those 6 police cars. They were behind on the note. But every single month they paid that $150,000 Tahoe for Tiffany's security detail. They paid that note every month. It's been on time every month since she got it. So she doesn't care about the public. If you don't have police cars, you don't have police. What are they going to do? Walk around? I guess they could patrol the streets by walking or biking it, but it's cold outside. Anyway.
Used the stamp of the village clerk's name on payments without the village clerk's authorization, has issued checks without statutorily mandated countersignatures, and whereas the Village Board of Trustees have received evidence that Mayor Henyard has improperly appointed village employees without the board's advice and consent, has hired convicted felons, has used police personnel for her own personal security detail, which has cost hundreds of thousands of dollars of overtime, or millions within the police department, has taken lavish trips with village staff, and has caused the village to be in a multi-million-dollar deficit. And whereas the mayor has consistently spent village funds for services without going out for bid or requesting any RFPs for various services. For example, branch and tree services, home repairs, and other items not approved by the village board, such as an ice rink and holiday decorations, which were not contained in the amounts approved within the village's budget, or any appropriation ordinance in violation of state law. Whereas the mayor refuses to allow the Board of Trustees access to the village financial records, including bank statements, payroll records, credit card statements, or documents concerning the village's budget, tax revenue, and tax levy. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and the board of trustees of the Village of Dalton, Cook County, in exercise of our home rule authority, require as follows. Section 1, the foregoing recitals are incorporated herein as fully set forth. Section 2, the village clerk is hereby requested or directed to send a copy of the resolution to Cook County State's Attorney, the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, the Cook County Sheriff, and the Illinois State Board of Elections for investigation. Section 3 says any policy or resolution of the Village of Dalton which conflicts with the provisions of this resolution shall be and hereby repealed for the extent of such conflict. Section 4 of this resolution shall take effect upon its passage and approval in the manner provided by law. That is the reading of this resolution. I will ask that we include Federal Bureau of Investigations in Section 2 as a governing body that we would ask this go to. So I'll motion that we approve Resolution 24-002 as read, and ask for a second.
Second.
Okay, being a motion and second, I will yield for board comment.
So I'm not going to go over the comments, but we did have Norwood speaking, and I believe.
Oh my God. I'm just overjoyed, but I will say this.
And she's basically going to say, hey, we wouldn't do this if Tiffany would just resign. And she's saying, oh, Tiffany's not going to resign. Well, we know Tiffany's not going to resign, but even if she does resign, they still should launch an investigation. Because right now, it's going to take the Village of Dalton years to recoup from all the damage that she's done. It's going to take some years for them to get the village back together and work in order. I believe they need to fire a bunch of people. I really do believe that. And not the people that's like the desk job people. I'm talking about the people that's on the floor, her administrative team. All those people need to go. They need to find some new people. And that's just my own personal opinion. You guys put it in the chat. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think they need to hire straight up new people? Anyway, let's see who else we got in the building. Tam, hey girl. Zakari Walters from Houston, Texas. We have more Magic from Philly. Timothy Taylor in the building. Let's see who else. A. Rodriguez from Ohio. And I don't see nobody else. Oh, Richard Stanton. Richard Stanton is in the building. Okay. Okay, I need you to start working on the metalloids. Okay?
Okay, so I'm gonna put the closing sentence.
The what now?
So what?
Yeah, you need to work on the closing sentence, then start writing your final draft.
For the metalloids.
For the metalloids, yeah. Read that last sentence because that last sentence is kind of sketchy or it's kind of shaky. Okay? For the metalloids. Close my door. My son is working on an informative book in class, so, and it's due Monday. Of course, he's last minute. He's last minute. Anyway, I got sidebar. I heard me giving instructions out to the kids. Let me So like I said, I think Teflon Tiffany, she should resign. I still think they should launch an investigation. Well, they're already investigating, the FBI. Everybody knows that. They confirmed it. I've been saying it for the last month because of my people that I know in Dalton. Anywho, so we're gonna get to the main story of the hour. Now, you guys, to me, this is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. Your girl, Nathan Wade, or he's not a girl. He's definitely not a girl. Nathan Wade visited Fani Willis neighborhood before hiring, cell phone data indicates. Now, when we read into this article, it's going to get deep down. The cell phone towers was in 2,000 to 3,000 feet of where he's the pinging location. So they dropped the pin on Fani Willis location and the closest cell phone towers to Fani Willis. And come to find out, well, he was pinging at this location 2,000 feet from, her house. So can we say and I'm pretty sure since it's Georgia, she's not living off the main strip. You pinging from a house, what's a mile? 6,200 feet. So you literally have to be in the neighborhood. Now, if we go back to the testimony, Nathan Wade claims that he went over her house. He did say that, but he said less than 10 times he actually visited Fani Willis while he was at that, she was at Yuri's condo. Okay. So this is what it is saying on this article. Nathan Wade appears to have made far more visits to the neighborhood of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis than previously admitted in court. Friday filing from attorney of former President Trump claims to show at least 35 visits by Wade to Hapeville neighborhood before he was hired. Now, she knew him personally. I guess they were. Now, you tell me this. I've known people for years. I'm not an attorney. I'm an engineer. But I've known people in this industry for years. Some people, but I still wouldn't have invited them to my house 35 times. And we're talking about a male. I'm a female and this is a male. And I'm a person, or I could say, I think if you have a male friends, and there's females that have a lot of male friends, I guess, but I grew up with guys, I have several brothers. I've always was told, yeah, men could be your friends to a certain extent. Now you're liking them as a friend, but they're liking you as a friend. You see where I'm going at. So Fani Willis could make a claim that, oh, we're just friends, or this is what we were doing. We were just hanging out because he is a close friend of mine. But come on, Fani, we all wasn't born yesterday. Okay. We wasn't born yesterday. Would you say a colleague of yours, they have the privilege to come to your house at least 35 times? Can somebody put that in the chat? You have a colleague or a good friend. A good friend, you're saying this is a good friend, but you're thinking about hiring him for some stuff that you got going on, and you guys, he's coming over your house. Does that make any sense? Anyway, I'm just trying to use common sense here. To me, it doesn't add up. Anyway, so Willis hired Wade in 2021 to help prosecute her sweeping racketeering case against Trump. Trump co-defendant Michael Roman alleged in the court filings last month that Willis should be disqualified from the case, claiming she financially benefited from hiring Wade because of their personal relationship. The date when the two lawyers' relationship began is the key to the ongoing dispute brought by Trump's attorney, who argued that their romantic fling compromised the integrity of the case. And so this is this 8-page filing that they put in here. Okay. In this 8-page filing, I'm not going to read it all, of course. This investigator, he actually goes into why he used the type of technology he used, how long he's qualifying himself as an expert, how long he's been doing this type of work, in which he's been doing this type of work for 25 years. This type of technology, he said, is tamper-proof. You can't tamper with it. They've used it throughout these last 20 years or 25 years, or since the technology has been in existence. And they used it on several different types of cases. Okay. So this second paragraph, it says, focusing on the geolocation activity near, and it's redacted, so I believe it's Fani Willis' address, Hateville, Georgia, which was testified by Miss Yurdy, the address of her condominium, and generating a report to reflect such activity, attached as Exhibit C. Given the urgency associated with the end to analyze this newly acquired data against the relevant testimony, I constructed a very conservative geofence, which isolated the two cell phone towers in close proximity to this address. One is roughly 3,000 feet. That's 3,000 feet, you guys. If you don't know, I believe 6,200 feet is a mile. Is it 6,200? Let me just look at how many feet, or it might be 6,400 feet. Oh, 5,200. My bad. 5,200 feet is a mile. Okay, so pretty close. It's literally walking distance. So 3,000 feet, okay, and the other 2,000 feet away. The purpose of this geofence was to conduct an initial assessment of whether Mr. Wade phone ever connected to these towers. Additionally, this modality was used to eliminate the possibility that hits could be associated with routine travel on either I-75 or I-85, or visits to nearby attraction or airport. Following the initial conservative sweep limited to those two towers, I further constrained those findings to hits on, I'm assuming they're putting addresses, which pointed directly at the blank community. I'm assuming this community is either Fani community where she laid her head or Nathan Wade. Additionally, the report was limited to those occasions when the phone was connected for an extended period. Okay. So This conservative analysis using the above reference modality revealed a minimum of 35 occasions when Mr. Wade's phone connected for an extended period to either one of those towers in close proximity to the blank address based upon associated data use, voice calls, or text messages. The data reveals he is stationary and not in transit. So this guy, he really did some forensic investigative work because he wanted to eliminate all the questions of, and he knows, okay, they could hire an attorney and combat what his findings are. So he's pretty much is doing the work before somebody else tried to combat whatever his findings were. Anyway, a deeper analysis of the data will reveal additional details such as where his travel began and ended. For purposes of my analysis, I determined that his residence is located in East Cobb and was able to review the records which demonstrate his phone pinging off associated towers near his residence for consistent periods. Because of the limitation in analyzing the sheer volume of data and preparing the report, I was directed to conduct a deeper analysis on two specific dates: September the 11th through the 12th, 2021, before I understand Mr. Wade was hired, and November the 29th through the 30th, 2021, prior to what I understand was in court testimony that the romantic relationship began in 2022. Specifically, on September 11, 2021, Mr. Wade's phone left the Doraville area and arrived within the geofence located on the address at 10:45 p.m. (10:45 p.m., you guys. The phone remained there until September the 12th till 3:30 in the morning, at which time the phone traveled directly to the towers located in East Cobb, consistent with his routine pinging at his residence in the area. So he was going in for a booty call. Yeah, my relationship didn't start, at Your Honor, to 2022. That's when we made it official. But we was doing the bumping uglies prior to 2022. Okay, in 2021, we was bumping uglies. Yeah, they did tell the truth because their relationship didn't start it until then. But you had a physical relationship with Mr. Wade. Okay. So now, after that, the phone arrived at East Cobb approximately 4 or 5 a.m. and the record demonstrated he sent a text at 4:20 to Miss Willis. We're not going to see the text message, but you know what the text message says? Thank you for a good time. Thank you for a good time, Fani. Fani, I love that Fani, but thank you for a good time. Thank you for a good time. Thank you, Reginald. Reginald, he's on top of his game. He said 5250 is a mile. Okay. We have Hanging AZ, the judge and his wife donated to Fani's campaign. You know what? Hanging AZ, I wouldn't read too much into it because they said it was about $150. One of those things, I think. Now, if it was in the thousands of dollars, I would be questioning. But $150, that's like, oh, I know you. I'm just going to donate a little something, some change. I wouldn't, read too much into that. Timothy Taylor said, who has the best barbecue in the South Burbs? I don't know, Timothy. I'm not. Where are you going with this conversation, Timothy? Reginald, the community where Willis lived was near the airport and a lot of restaurants. That's another thing. That's why he wanted to hone in, or he used the word, not geofencing. He used the word conservative. Yeah, I said geofencing, but he used conservative geofencing. But I could imagine, is she near a restaurant now? This is a good question, because, and I'm pretty sure he eliminated this question in his report or analysis. If you're near a restaurant or a bar or whatever, and you're frequent there, and will they ping off the same cell phone towers if you're visiting these set locations? But he did mention in this airport, at the airport location, there's another cell phone tower near to the airport. You can't deny this, though. You can't deny September 11th. I'm sorry. You can't deny that. You can't avoid that. I work for you, or I'm just your friend. Why would I text you at 4 or 5 in the morning? Who texts somebody at 4 or 5 in the morning? Can somebody give me an answer? Who do you normally text at 4 or 5 in the morning? Or 4:20? They said 4:20 in the morning. I'm not for sure. Additionally, on November the 29th, Mr. Wade's phone was pinging on East Cobb Towers near his residence, and following the call from Miss Willis at 11:32 p.m., while the call continued, his phone left the East Cobb area just after midnight and arrived within the geofence located at the address at 12:43 a.m. on November the 30th, 2021. The phone remained there until 4:55 a.m. So he made a PowerPoint presentation. According to, now in this, he made a PowerPoint presentation about the data. And he's trying to present the data in a transparent way. And they submitted it. They submitted this data. Certification of the cell phone records analysis generated from Cellhawk Analytics. And basically in PowerPoint C, which is the exhibits, he's telling, he's just giving a deeper analysis and telling the story what these slides represents. We don't have the PowerPoint. If you guys want to see the PowerPoint, I guess we got to wait to the court date, but they probably won't release it to us. Now, let me go to where do I want to go? Atlanta first. Yes? Why you got so much grease on your face?
I was like, that they told me to publish. My foot's still different again.
Okay.
In the same spot.
Okay, you was jumping around. You need to relax. Go sit down.
Okay.
So Nathan Wade tries to block former attorney's testimony yesterday. Nathan Wade's former attorney and business partner kind of blew open the case. Fani Willis testifying and barging in the courtroom. She did more harm than good because her mannerisms were horrible, And then she left a bunch of open questions, open-ended questions, more questions that people have about her and Nathan Wade's relationship. And they probably should have convinced her to stop talking. Now, this first video is of Nathan Wade.
At Vistaprint, we can get
This is just a news report, and they're explaining why Nathan Wade wants to block the report.
your brand into your customers' hands, or their heads, or their backs.
Just into our newsroom, a new twist in the ongoing court battle over whether Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade will be disqualified from their case against former President Donald Trump and several others accused of interfering with Georgia's 2020 election.
So today, Nathan Wade, he actually submitted a new court filing asking the judge to counsel what could be a pivotal private court proceeding. Investigative reporter Zach Merchant has been following this case from the very beginning. So Zach, what does all of this mean?
Well, guys, it's important to not get lost in the legal jargon. At its core, this filing gets to an essential part of the defense team's argument as that team seeks answers from a witness they consider key to their efforts to remove both DA Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade from the case. That witness, Terrence Bradley, Wade's former law partner and one-time divorce lawyer. At last week's hearing, defense attorneys spent hours trying to get Bradley to answer when Willis and Wade began their romantic relationship. The defense attorneys are alleging it started before Willis named Wade as a special prosecutor in the case, and that role for him allowed both of them to financially benefit from the case. But Bradley testified he couldn't say anything because, in his view, any information he may have was protected by attorney-client privilege. Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee looked ready to accept that argument until just before the end of Friday's hearing, when Bradley gave an answer that seemed to reopen the issue.
Now I'm left wondering if Mr. Bradley has been properly interpreting privilege this entire time.
The judge asked Bradley and his attorney to join him for a private, off-the-record proceeding to determine whether Bradley really was covered by attorney-client privilege last Friday, but apparently that did not happen. And now, in today's court filing, Wade is asking Judge McAfee to cancel it altogether and uphold the attorney-client privilege shield. Here's why this matters. The stakes are substantial. If the judge does have that meeting and decides Bradley was not claiming privilege properly, defense attorneys could get another chance to question him under oath about the origins of Willis and Wade's relationship.
All right.
Wayfair presents mattresses. Stack.
So the problem is you have contradictory testimony. You have one, Nathan Wade comes in the courtroom and saying he didn't have personal relationship with Fani Willis prior to him being hired. The relationship started in 2022. Then you have Robin Yurdy saying, no, when she rented the condo to Fani Willis, your boy came over there, Nathan Wade frequent over there, and she knew that they was in a relationship because one, Fani Willis said, she kissed and told, said, and then the display of their relationship. They were very affectionate in public. Okay, so that's what Robin Yurdy is saying. Then you have Taylor saying that he can't disclose any information because of attorney-client privilege, but it wasn't really directly related to the privilege. Okay, you handled the man's of divorce, but all the outside matters that, that's not attorney-client privilege. Just because you became his lawyer for some specific thing, although that outside stuff is really not protected in attorney-client privilege because you was his business partner. So they're trying to scrape at whatever they can to kind of save this case, but I tell you, they're not going to be able to save it. It's too much damning information on them. And then I believe the judge is getting slightly irritated about the back and forth. And I believe that he knows there's something up with, number one, the attorney-client privilege, and you're trying to stop this man from testifying, but for what? What type of information does he have that you don't want revealed? So I believe the judge is thinking like, okay, there's one thing with attorney-client privilege. Then there's like, but if you specifically saying you didn't have a relationship in 2022 or prior to you getting hired, then what's the problem? Because the problem is because they did have a relationship. They were sleeping together. Anywho, they didn't ping anything, or they didn't subpoena Fani Willis' cell phone, but there's been over 20,000 text messages. 20,000 text messages between Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, which is really insane. Let me just I said 20,000 text messages. No, it's been I believe 12,000 text messages. My bad. Let me just share this. 2,000 calls and 12,000 text messages alleged between DA Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor. Can you explain away this? Can you really explain away this? The 20,000 text message. I don't know if you could get away from explaining that. Joe, nobody, does Fanny have any kids? Yes, she does. She has 2 grown kids. Yes, she has 2 daughters. Mr. Ribby 88, 10:45, between 10:45 and 3:30 a.m. Sound like booty call time to me. That doesn't sound like a business meeting. It sounds like, yes, it's sexy time. It's sexy time. Fani and Nathan wasn't using I'm not saying that if she left 2,000 voicemail. They wasn't using no type of protection. She's probably past what is it called? The age of getting pregnant. We have a super chat in the building. Thank you for the super chat. So yeah, she received 12,000 text messages and 2,000 calls. I had to go back. I mean, I talked to my husband about 2, maybe more than that. We talk each other. Sometimes our talks are like, yeah, okay, bye. That's the extent of our calls. I know it's so romantic. But after a while, you living together. I've been with my husband almost 15 years now, and some of those short calls. So I mean, I could see you calling somebody that frequently, but I'm like married to the person. I'm like literally married. So I can't understand, even if this is your boss, why would you call them so much? Wouldn't you get annoyed that you have an employee and you gave them a task to do, and they were like, you hired them for a project, a specific project, and they called you 2,000 times and 12,000 text messages that they sent to you, you would be like, you gonna tell me everything play by play? I didn't sign up for this. I hired you for you to just do the job. Let me know at the end of the day. Give me a rundown, a list of what happened and what didn't happen. But 12,000 texts is pretty extensive. Okay. So I'm going to play this for you.
This is how AG1 works to upgrade your health routine. By combining
investigator hired to look into Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis says he found more than 2,000 calls and 12,000 text messages between her and top prosecutor Nathan Wade. Atlanta News First political reporter Doug Reardon is live at 5. And Doug, what was in those messages? And well, the phone calls we're not so sure about, but the messages, we could possibly find out the content.
There is a chance, but it is unlikely. The Supreme Court has actually ruled in the past that you are allowed, investigators or attorneys who need this data, you are allowed to track the location of people using their cell phones, but the contents are protected. So there is a chance, and a very good one, that we may never know what is in those calls and inside of those messages, even though they could tell us quite a bit about this case. So let's go back just about a week ago when District Attorney Fani Willis was testifying here at the Fulton County Courthouse. She explicitly told the court that she and Wade weren't dating until April of 2022 after he was hired. And even then, he didn't come to her residence in Hayeville more than a few times. But this cell phone data places Wade's phone right near Willis's home a handful of times, certainly more than they had testified to in 2021. Before that timeline she laid out, it even shows the time of day. The report shows on a few occasions Wade would get a late night call from Willis and arrive sometimes after midnight, maybe even stay until 4 or 5 in the morning in at least 2 instances. And this matters, experts say, because it conflicts their story.
If they lied to the court, this can be referred to the Georgia State Bar for disciplinary action. Theoretically, the judge could hold them in contempt of court and also submit to another prosecutorial office for perjury charges. That seems unlikely, but the disciplinary by the bar seems quite likely should this be proven as a lie.
And these pings, I'm told, are relatively accurate. They can place a subject within 1,000 feet of a location that is picked out by the investigators. Now, this matter is going to be back in court next Friday, 1 week from today, where the judge could ultimately have these hearings to sum up the arguments and maybe even make a decision as soon as then. We're live from the Fulton County Courthouse. Doug Reardon, Atlanta.
So, yeah, I mean, how can you deny text messages 12,000? They should pull the other attorneys. How frequent did these other attorneys that she hired, did they text her damn near 12,000 times? Call Fani 2,000 times? Okay. Something don't add up. Who is lying? Now, I came across a funny interview with Megyn Kelly and Judge Joe Brown. And just pull up your, am I sharing this tab? No. Share this tab. History. Megyn Kelly and Judge Joe Brown. Judge Joe Brown, he basically breaks down how Fani Willis damaged herself just testifying. I mean, she literally shouldn't have testified. I mean, I don't agree with the Trump case. I think it's frivolous. But I believe as an attorney, you should have listened to the people that you hired. I mean, you hired these people to prosecute Donald Trump and his co-conspirators, and they're literally trying to protect you so you won't open up a big can of worms. But Fani Willis is so arrogant. Maybe she just thought, like, I'm just gonna go up there and tell the truth, but some of the truth, and it ended up backfiring in her face. She looks really ridiculous. I mean, she right now she looks really ridiculous, and I don't know how she's gonna get this stain off her career. She might end up getting barred from this. I know she's gonna be reprimanded, but this is what Judge Joe Brown had to say.
With DataCamp, you don't need to download Python to learn Python.
And why it matters and why it should matters about this Trump case. I like he said, he didn't well, he did mention he didn't think she should have testified.
With their testimony the other day too. So how did you, what jumped out at you?
First thing is she might not have had to testify in the first place. When she walked in, threw the sheaf of documents down on opposing counsel's table, put hand on hip, walked up with attitude, doing snake charm thing with her neck. At that point, the lawyers for the DA's office were arguing that she did not need to testify. She decided to override those lawyers. And one important aspect of this case is she was not on trial. She was merely being a witness at that point. And then she put herself into a position where you have the spectacle of the chief prosecuting officer for a major American city, Atlanta, needing to take the Fifth Amendment.
It was quite a spectacle. And you know, in Fani Willis' defense, if you felt like somebody lied on you, of course you'll be offended personally. And she kept this prestigious career for the longest and a clean, squeaky record for the longest. I mean, she's been practicing law for 20 something years, maybe 25 years. So yeah, I could see her being upset, but somebody should have pulled her in and said, and told her, you need to bring it down a notch. You should have been well rested. They should have told her, go in and get some sleep because you might testify. You know, we just got to be realistic. You might testify. Don't be hitting the bottle. I think Fani Willis was on a bender. She came and she looked out like last night. You see her dress like she slept at the office. She looked a mess. Anyway.
So, you know, one of the things that's interesting is that she had given evidence that there was a tax lien on her home. Now, to clear those up, you have to deal with some affidavits and satisfy IRS that you should be placed on an installment payment plan, all right? Then she's talking about she's got $15,000 in cash in the house. Then we have all of these cash transactions that should have been receipted and recorded. They weren't. You have the 501k she talked about, she got out and she used that for campaign purposes, but that was taxable income once she removed it from the account. She didn't report that. So we've got a real live mess going on here in terms of tax fraud, tax evasion, and that kind of thing. We've got a specter of money laundering here that raises itself. We have a number of issues that she brought out. Nobody had developed them before, that actually, ironically, put her under the spotlight that comes from the Georgia RICO statutes that she's proceeding against Mr. Trump under. So my, you get on the stand and you were prosecuting somebody and you blurt out stuff that under oath, recorded Everybody looking. It makes you look like you need to be prosecuted for the same statute.
And let me interrupt. Not only her, but you have Nathan Wade. Did you hear how low his tax returns were? One year he made 100 and something thousand. The next year he made 200,000. They all were like low 230s. This is what they claimed on his taxes. And so either you are an attorney that sucks, but you've been practicing for years, or you're lying. You're lying on your taxes. And they openly, both of them, they openly admitted that they will receive cash payments from clients. Both of them admitted that. Nathan Wade even admitted, oh no, I don't have Cash App, which is, I think that's a bold-faced lie. I think a man that's well-traveled, she said he's well-traveled. He's been on all the continents, all the 6 of the 7 continents. You well-traveled and you don't have Cash App? Come on now. You really don't have Cash App. And to me, that doesn't make any sense. And you're well-traveled and you're number 2 and number 3, you're ducking and dodging from the payments from your alimony support payments from your ex-wife. So she opened up a can of worms saying, I keep cash laying around my house and then I have a tax lien. Oh yeah, and she thought it was funny. Yeah, I didn't pay the tax lien off, and I went shopping too, and I still didn't pay it. That shit is not funny.
Now, on the thing that people are getting sidetracked on, well, she had this affair. It just happened. You know, they ran into each other on the job. No, she had this affair going before he got brought in as a special prosecutor. Well, it really doesn't make any difference, because if she was dealing with him before he got appointed, she should have approached the judge in camera and advised him of his or her ethical conflict. And if it developed afterwards, as soon as it did, she should have walked in and talked to the judge in camera, and that means in his chambers confidentially about it, and given him the option of saying, well, he's got to go because you're signing off on his claims for reimbursement. So you do have some say in what's going on. And because of what you said about your intentions toward Mr. Trump before the election even occurred, we needed an independent counsel. So this is bad. Now, if the court said, well, I think you can stay on, but we're going to have to reveal this to the other side, she might have had second thoughts and said, well, okay, we'll let it go. And some other DA's office can come in and go through all of the changes relative to this case. But I want to have it so badly, I'm just got my hooks in it. I'm not going to let it go. I don't tell. So either way, if it started before he got on as special prosecutor or it started after he was already on the affair I'm talking about, it's bad because she should have brought it to the court's attention.
And you know, I think that a lot of people are saying that, okay, if you would have just let it be known, and you didn't have to let everyone know, she should have just let the judge know that, yeah, I'm having or had a personal relationship with Nathan Wade. So when it, and eventually they probably would have found out, they could have squashed it, or they probably would have said, the judge probably would have said, okay, maybe you need to get rid of this guy. And that's probably would have happened. You know, literally, the judge would have been like, okay, you need to Get rid of Nathan Wade and find somebody else. Because you literally don't need Nathan Wade to prosecute Trump. Nathan Wade doesn't have any experience. So why did you hire him? So we go back to our original thought. She hired him because she was getting the booty from him. She was getting that the ding dong from him, that Mandingo warrior from Nathan Wade. He was laying it down. So that's why she hired the man for $650,000. So what's the problem? I mean, connected to this is like common sense. People connect the dots.
It's a very good point. Let me just stop you there, just to organize the thoughts for the audience. I'll take them in reverse order. That's a very good point about how she should have gone to this judge once the affair started, by her own admission. You know, we have reason to believe it started long before she hired him. But let's say they're right that it happened in 2022 after she brought him on board. No question at that point, she was paying him well above what the other prosecutors were making that she had brought in. And she was certainly paying him well above what any prosecutor in her DA's office was making. So by any measure, more than people who worked as DAs under her were making. And she was enjoying the fruits of that labor. There's no question they were taking trips together. He was footing the bill. She now says she was reimbursing him, but there are no receipts. But your point is, she had an obligation to go to the judge at that point and say, I've brought in this person. I am now in a romantic sexual relationship with this person who is getting paid above market versus my own DAs and versus the other two prosecutors who I've brought in. And it has the potential to look at least like a conflict of interest for me.
I mean, Megyn Kelly is describing it like it's a matter of fact, you know. But when she, I love the way she's explaining it, because the way she's explaining it, it sounds ludicrous. Like all the details that she laid out of what happened, it sounds ludicrous. Like, you know, this is wrong. So anyway, I want her to get to asking Joe Brown this next question.
She signs off on this, and you have to get a perspective for the exorbitant amount of money he was being compensated for. This case has not even been set for trial, but he already been paid roughly twice what the Attorney General of the United States of America gets paid per year for handling all of the business of the country. He has been paid so far more than what the President of the United States gets paid per year. So keep that into context. You multiply, well, don't multiply, but if you add up all of what the other prosecutors have submitted as a bill, it isn't even a third of what he's been compensated so far. And this thing has not even had any hearings on it, in essence, that are of significance. So we've got a potentially enormous bill that the state of Georgia, the county of Fulton, that means Atlanta, the people that live there are going to have to foot, because look, out of the same fund, you have to pay other attorneys who've been appointed when there's a conflict, and say the public defender's office cannot be appointed. And see, you have to keep in context, she is not on trial at this point, though she might wind up in that condition. But this is a hearing to determine whether or not the Fulton County DA's office is removed from the case and another office is appointed. Now, the practical matter that everybody in America is concerned with is this going to go to trial or be set for trial before the election or after the election? If before, then you tie up a candidate who is the favored candidate for a lot of people in this country, and you disrupt his ability to campaign, which is kind of out there. Somebody, New York here, another New York, somebody, Florida, is trying to get into, oh, wow, whoopee, I'm going to take over for the country and save it. And I'm going to take this guy out so the rest of them don't have to be tempted to vote for it, which is kind of crazy. 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 people try to override 640 million people. It's kind
So as soon as
changing. She files her financial declarations, same problems. We need her in here to go over all of this and to explain exactly what.
You see how she like, I'm in here. I'm here. And she came in literally huffing and puffing. Look at her.
around that.
Getting a business loan has never been easier. But where do you look? Lendio.
Out there. So clearly, I'm not saying at this point that she hasn't done anything wrong, but she seems righteously enraged about the things that are in these documents. And I would say for her, what's in these documents, she believes to be dishonest, and there are lies being told about her. She believes that to be true. And maybe at such a heightened emotional level that she may have put her dress on the wrong way round that morning. That's how upset she is.
One of those tape replays.
Once the motion was filed, did you meet with Mr. Wade and talk to him about the motion that I filed to disqualify you?
On January, this first January motion?
Yes.
I don't know if you could say talked about. I probably had some choice words about some of the things that you said that were dishonest within this motion. So I don't know that it was a conversation. As you know, Mr. Wade is a Southern gentleman. Me, not so much.
On the clip there. So it's not lip pursing. Lip pursing, we for the most part, we say that suggests the person doesn't agree with what's being said or what's happening, which is actually what's happening here, but that's not lip pursing. So she squints, and we're listening to her voice.
Questions, but if we run down the list, let's back up a second and say, what are we supposed to do when we're accused? If we are innocent, we protest and we're angry and we make a point of it. And I think I'm seeing that here. And that doesn't mean that she hasn't done anything, but she clearly has an adversarial relationship with this person. There's hard eye lock. You're right, as she's taking in data. Hardly any movement at all. Then her voice quivers. That's fight or flight. And I think it's fight in this case. There's blink rate and those pursed lips you're talking about. I agree with you. They're not disapproval, but we'll get plenty of that as we go. Under the desk, she's adapting with her feet, and we see her bouncing as a result of it. There's disgust in her face. She's adversarial outright, driving her head forward. There's respiration increase. There's narrowing of her mouth we associate with anger. And then there's outright contempt. That's adversarial and appropriate if you're charged with something you disagree with, or if you say you're lying in this document, and which she outright says, you're lying in this document. I'm not going to be as polite. So I expect her to be this direct, this driven. We would expect no less of somebody who is saying, I'm innocent. Mark, what do you got?
Yeah, I think I think, Chase, there's the counter argument to the dress would be that those darts at the front wouldn't work for the back, and they're only designed for the front. But why have the zipper at the front? Why the bow in the wrong place? So I think there's we'll hear all kinds of arguments around. But suffice to say, if it is round the right way, it's a terrible design. I think I don't like the design in any way whatsoever with the zipper at the front. I'll just say that. I'll just say it's not enough.
I don't know if you guys can hear me. My camera went out. Let me see if I could pull it up. A different video.